another episode of Mood for Feud. I'm your host Katya, and today I am in the mood for petty feuds, and joining me I have the lovely Torry from Ready to be Petty and Ready to be Romanced. How's it going, Torry?
Good. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. Truly means so much to me. And please do introduce yourself to the listeners and also tell us a bit about your podcasts.
Yeah, I'd love to. Actually, I think that this is the first time I've recorded with someone where I'm the guest and it's like an international podcast. So I truly am very stoked to be here. I'm Torry and I host Ready to be Petty and Ready to be Romance, as Katya just said. And Ready to be Petty covers trending pop culture stories, celebrity gossip, and reality TV. And then Ready to be Romance covers popular romance novels where we just like recap and review books we've enjoyed and have a discussion about what made them good or things we didn't like, or, you know, just laughing at some of the absurdity of romance novels.
I love that. And Ready to be Romanced, I have to say, because I listen to a lot of pop culture podcasts, but I'm fairly new to the like book podcast space, but it really scratches that itch when you read a book, none of your friends have read it, and you just want to talk about it or listen to conversation about it, and it's so good. And I know there's definitely some book girlies listening to this, so you guys should totally check that out. Yeah, it's a great podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, sometimes it's tough when you know you're reading a good book and you just want to talk about it, and then maybe your friends haven't read it or they read it a long time ago or they don't want to read it or whatever. And so I feel like when it aligns and you found someone that has read the same book as you, it's really nice. So yeah, it's been fun.
It's a great feeling. So yeah, definitely check that out. And obviously I'm such a fan of Ready to be Petty as well.
Thank you.
It's such a great show, honestly. It's one of the very first pop culture podcasts that I started listening to, and I've been addicted ever since. So
that means the world to me, seriously. Thank you. Stop pumping my tires. Let's move into petty feuds.
We'll move on. That's so funny. Yeah, so today we are going to be covering petty feuds. I'm so excited to talk about these because I feel like we've had some darker topics on the show recently, and this is like a little bright light at the end of the tunnel, like something fun and not so serious, you know, that we can like laugh about and stuff. But before we get to them, have you ever been in a petty feud yourself? Are you a petty person?
I'm definitely a petty person. I was like trying to think when you sent me this outline, I was trying to think like, have I ever been in a petty feud? Like probably. I was trying to think of like what defines a feud, I guess, because I was thinking about all the times that I feel like I've been in a situation where I'm like, I'm feuding with this person, but it's one-sided.
Yeah.
And they have no idea that I'm quote unquote feuding with them. So like even some of these remarks that maybe the celebs we're going to talk about have like commented on social media, like I feel like sometimes I'll comment about other podcasts or whatever on my show, like just like things like that. So I'm like, I guess maybe I've engaged in some petty feuds, but I couldn't think of like a really good one off the top of my head.
That's okay. I fully get you. The petty feud that I thought of that I've been in was completely one-sided, and I'm pretty sure the other person like didn't even realize that I was doing my like sneaky petty stuff. But it was at my last work. We were in like an open plan office, and one of the older colleagues would constantly come over to my pod and be like, you're talking too loud, like bloody bloody blah, you know, just the classic stuff, which like it's an open plan office, so it's going to be really tricky to have silence. Like you basically can't have silence, and I was in a very collaborative team. We constantly had to be talking to one another, but he would always come over and be like, can you quieten it down please? And it just really irked me because he himself was also a loud talker. and would also make a lot of noise in his own pod, and that was okay, but it was just us that, like, you know, he had a gripe with. And so my petty retaliation was every time I had to walk to the kitchen, I would purposefully walk right past his desk, because we were in like an earthquake safe building, which, you know, shakes with movement. And so I just liked that anytime I walked past him, like, his desk would shake.
Would shake. That's so
and
funny.
He probably didn't even notice it, but it was like a slightly longer way to get to the kitchen, and I was like,
yeah, and it makes you feel better about, you know, the times that he's told you to be quiet.
Yeah, I'm like, fine, but I'm gonna shake your desk every time I need to get a cup of tea. That's stupid.
So funny.
It's so petty.
I'm also the loud talker in my office for sure. I used to have a like coworker where we shared an office, and like people would come over to us all the time and like shut our door. So I get it, but I'm like, don't you want to have fun at your workplace? Like, we're here. This was like pre-COVID, so we were here like 40 hours a week. Like, don't you want to have like a joyous workplace? But I never got that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, I know it is, and I feel the same. Like, it sucks being in a office environment where you feel like you can't relax and you have to, you know, like constantly be aware of yourself. And especially because we had like quiet rooms and stuff where if you had an important phone call or a meeting, you know, you went into there and it blocked all the noise, so it was like you could manage it yourself as well. But yeah, that was just my petty feud that I'm sure he had no idea about.
That's so funny. I love that. It's so funny. There's so many things, like, for example, I have a car and there's a parkade in my apartment building, so I park underneath the building, and I've been here for about 4 years. For about 3 of those years, no one parked next to me. Like, the stall was just empty. And I'm not a bad driver or I'm a bad parker, like, for sure. But like in a way that I feel like isn't harmful or like very disruptive for people. And about maybe a year ago, someone started parking next to me. Like, they got that stall assigned to them. And one time they told me, they just were like, you are parking way too close to us. And I was like, oh my God, what happened to hello, how are you?
Yeah.
But it's so funny because I'm like, I guess I'm in a petty feud with them, but it's like, I just now will repark like 6 times like to like get it like dead in the line. So I'm like, I didn't get one over them or whatever. I just I just did what they wanted me to do, I guess. I don't know. But I like every time I'm like parking, I'm like, you're not very nice. Yeah. But that's about it. I'm all talk, all game, like no bite or whatever. Like I'll talk, no bite, I think.
Yeah, no, that's so fair. And that is probably the better way to be. Like, you're meant to take the high road in these things and be the better person.
Truly.
Like, you're definitely doing things the right way, because I would have been like parking as close to the line as physically possible to be like, but I'm still in my park, like, what's going on? I paid for this amount.
Totally, 100%. Yeah,
but that's not the right way to be, so I think that you're setting a great example here.
Maybe I've matured. Sometimes I do believe, like, I started my podcast 6 years ago, and I would always talk about so many petty things that happened to me in my real life. And I still sometimes do that because things come up. But maybe I really, truly have matured, because I'm like, I feel like I don't have as many things that I could talk about as I used to before.
Because it's just, like, not serving you to think about them and make them into this big thing.
Yeah, I'd much rather talk about other people's petty feuds, I guess.
Yes, for sure. And what a great segue
nice.
into our first topic, which is the petty feud between Martha Stewart and Gwyneth Paltrow. I love this feud so much. It's my favorite level of petty feuding, where like it's super petty, but it's like done in the best way. I think this is like execution 10 out of 10 for me.
Totally. Martha Stewart is really petty. Like, I just saw her on Andy Cohen like last week, and she was, you know, saying some digs against Ina Gardner or whatever. Yeah.
Yes,
so
I saw that.
Wild. Her pettiness knows no bounds, I guess.
No, and actually when this feud with Gwyneth started, she was feuding with like 5 different people at the time because she'd done like one interview and just rattled through everyone like, oh, the lead in Orange is the New Black sucks. Like, I've met the actual Piper and she's nothing like that, and this person sucks. So she's like not afraid to hold back at all.
Wild. I guess she's been in the industry for a really long time, and I guess you can just let it fly at her age.
Yeah. God, get me to that age where I can just like say whatever and people are too exhausted to correct me and they're just like, you know what? Like,
we'll just
wait.
We'll just
wait.
accept it. Yeah.
Yeah. But this started because Martha is asked in an interview about Gwyneth Paltrow's wellness and lifestyle brand Goop. This is in 2013. She says, I haven't eaten at Gwyneth's house and I've never seen how she lives, but if she's authentic, all the better, and I certainly hope she is. She really wants to be part of the lifestyle business. She wants to be a lifestyle arbiter. Fine, good. I think I started this whole lifestyle category.
Wild. It's interesting because it's like Martha Stewart is, I don't know about New Zealand and Australia, but she is a juggernaut here. Like, to this day, all of her brands, her magazine, her shows, like, they do so well. I was just thinking she probably maybe did start lifestyle brands, but her brand is so different from people that would be accessing Goop. So why were you so petty?
Because Goop did niche itself into being more of a like wellness, pseudoscience, you know, that kind of sphere. So she's not coming for Martha in any way, I don't think.
No.
And also, you're allowed to be the second or even, 200th person to do something.
Totally. I just think like, and now that we have a bird's eye view of this feud, but it's like, it's just also interesting to think like, I think Gwyneth had the right to be mad at Kourtney Kardashian for Poosh, because I feel like that down to the name is like a direct ripoff, but like Martha's brand, it's like for middle-aged white women, and I feel like Gwyneth's is, well, a different set of middle-aged white women, I guess.
Different middle-aged white women, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And Martha Stewart, her brand's not as massive over here, I would say. And definitely when I was growing up, she was only a household name because she went to jail.
Right.
That's what everyone talks about here. And then, her friendship with Snoop Dogg as well. Like that was, but I don't think I've ever seen one of her like products in the stores or anything.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. So she's kind of like a meme over here, I guess, is what the best way to describe it. So I don't know if she started the whole lifestyle category. I'm not sure. I have to say, I did not realize the lifestyle magazine boom that happened in 2013, 2014. I'm realizing it now because we covered Meghan Markle last week. Mm-hmm. And it brought up the TIG. And then we covered Blake Lively.
My gosh. Preserve.
It ends with us. Yeah, and it brought up Preserve. And then I was like, wait, was this a thing? Like, obviously I missed this.
Yeah. Did you, when you were researching that, did it say kind of why a lot of celebrities pivoted to something like that?
No, I actually want to look into it further now and try find some more celebrities. I had a quick look and I found like Jessica Alba's lifestyle blog as well. And it's really interesting to me. I kind of liken it to what influencing is today, or like TikTok shop, where you've got these products that you use and you certified, to live like you do yourself. I guess it's just a 2010s version of having Amazon links in your bio. But so maybe it was about that. It was about like monetization, but there wasn't an easy way to do it like there is today, where you can just like use the same drink bottle and then chuck a link to it for your followers. You had to build this whole website.
That makes a lot of sense. Like they like to know it and stuff like that probably didn't exist. It does kind of seem like a iteration of influencing and just capitalizing on like the blog era and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so of the time. I missed the time. I just wasn't, I wasn't aware.
Yeah. It's like I was there, but it's like at the time some of these things you don't notice their prevalence until you're looking back on it 10 years later and you're like, yeah, why did every celebrity decide to do a lifestyle brand? I think also it just, in terms of like money wise, like it does make sense for people to be like, if you're a celebrity and your main gig is acting like Blake Lively, but you want to sell products, how do you do that in a way that's like, it's easy for the JoJo Siwas and the Hannah Montanas and stuff like that to brand like costumes and backpacks and stuff like that, but for a kind of, you know, generic actress.
Yeah, like no one's buying a Serena van der Woodsen lunchbox, you know,
Exactly,
to take to school.
Exactly. So I guess maybe that was the pitch, is that if you kind of commodified your brand and like your look and stuff like that, then you could sell kind of the first gen affiliate link. Like,
yeah, I think that's kind of how I see it now looking back, but I just thought it was so interesting because I obviously was just not on that side of the internet at the time, and it seems like now every time I research an actor who was around during that time, it'll be like, and they had this lifestyle blog.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
But in 2014, Martha does another interview on Porter magazine this time, and she's asked about it again, and even though her first comment was like kind of underhanded or a little bit more subtle, this time she just goes in and she says she just needs to be quiet. She's a movie star. If she were confident in her acting, she wouldn't be trying to be Martha Stewart.
That's spicy.
Yeah, that's super spicy. And Gwyneth attends Fortune magazine's Most Powerful Women Summit around this time, and obviously it comes up, did you hear what Martha said about you trying to be the next Martha Stewart? And you know, she takes it really well, to be honest. She's kind of joking about being like shocked and devastated, but she says she's super psyched that Martha views her as competition, which I think is a good reaction to have to that, because I would have just been so hurt.
Yeah, totally.
But I think she's right though. It's like, it's good to be viewed as competition. And then that same week she announces that she's just appointed Lisa Gersh as CEO, and Lisa had previously been the CEO of Martha Stewart Living, so she's poaching her stuff.
That seems pointed.
Yeah.
I don't want to be conspiratorial, but it's like, that seems like it was a purposeful dig. That's just really interesting to give Gwyneth and these other women a grain of, or just some grace. I guess it is hard. I feel like maybe Gwyneth was like, oh, I'm like getting kind of aged out of rules, and like maybe some of the roles didn't appeal to her. I feel like everyone was like, you know, looking for younger people and stuff like that. So maybe she was like, oh God, I like really do need to pivot. But yeah, wild.
Absolutely. And I feel like back then there was still a pretty strong sentiment of like, you do one job and you work that for the whole time and that's the only thing you do. Whereas now, like,
true,
every actor also has probably 3 side hustles at least.
Yes.
Much more common now, but probably back then it did feel like a bit of a weird move. But absolutely, hiring Lisa Gersh, like, that is there's no way she would have done that if Martha hadn't been running her mouth, I don't think.
Totally, but it's also really smart because, again, at least in North America, like, that company still to this day, like, kills it. So it's a smart move. And same with Goop. Like, Goop has also had, like, a very, very successful business run. So she knew what she was doing.
It's so interesting because it's always at the center of some online rage bait, it seems like, Goop is. Like, she's always coming out with something that then people get really offended by or really in uproar, but it doesn't go away. It's still around. So
totally. And people still, you're right, we always get tricked into like one of their articles or like the Netflix show and stuff like that. So
oh my gosh, yes. It's always like a headline like, Gwyneth puts $10,000 hairbrush on Goop.
Yep, like, we're almost at Christmas. When her Christmas gift guide comes out, we will be saying the same thing. So
oh my gosh,
yeah. And it is, I talked about this on my podcast when we talked about rewatch podcasts, just like how some of these like industries have set up cottage industries, and I think like there are like podcast episodes and other articles and stuff like that do like cover the Goop Christmas guide and stuff like that. So it is interesting how like it all kind of like trickles down into people's own jobs as well.
Yeah, Gwyneth is providing employment with Goop. What the
hell? Yes, exactly. That's exactly what she's doing. Yes.
In 2014 as well, Martha then releases an article in her November issue of Martha Stewart Living, and it's titled Conscious Coupling, which is a complete jab at Gwyneth's announcement on Goop that her and Chris Martin had split. It was earlier that year, and in the article on Goop, Gwyneth had written, "We have always conducted our relationship privately, and we hope that as we consciously uncouple and co-parent, we will be able to continue in the same manner." And Martha releases this article, Conscious Coupling, all about pies and pie fillings that work well together.
Like, that is so funny to me.
Yeah.
That is so funny. I think Martha thinks as Gwyneth as competition and Goop as competition. I do think she is petty. I don't think they like run in the same circles or are friends at all. I will give Martha a little grain of credit here that like I doubt she is writing these articles or picking these headlines. I don't even know at this point in 2014 is she even, I bet she doesn't even like sign off on them anymore.
Yeah.
I think so many times like Consciously Uncouple was the moment for like 6 months. I really think it's like, I'm sure there was a million SNL skits and a million, The View roundtable, like hot topics discussions and stuff like that, and late night show monologues and stuff like that. So I'll give her an iota of credit and say just like she was jumping on the trend of wanting to sell her November issue, but that is pretty wild.
Yeah, you're right. At this point in time, there's probably a whole team of people who are working on these things for her, and maybe it crosses her desk and maybe it doesn't. I have to say, I think it's kind of genius. Again, it's like my favorite type of petty. It's like, yeah, it's a jab, but it's like no one's getting severely harmed over this, and I just love it. I think Consciously Uncouple is one of those things that will always live rent-free in my mind and that I'll think about from time to time because it's so ridiculous.
Of course, yes.
But it's so Gwyneth as well at the same time.
It's so, and she lives in her, like, it's so Goop too. Like, it just,
yes,
it's her brand, and she really truly lives out her brand. So yeah, and like it's been 10 years, and like you could tell anybody, maybe Gen Z and up, about conscious uncoupling, and I bet everyone would know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think Gwyneth is truly like this in real life, or do you think she's crafted this persona?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think she's like this. I think like she's a Nepo baby. She had extreme success in Hollywood like through her 20s, and I think you reach an age, I think growing up in LA, like it's very like hoo I think like with in terms of your wellness and stuff like that. And I think you hit your 40s and you like become a Pilates mom. Like she doesn't need to work per se. This is kind of, I feel like what a lot of women are doing in LA. Like even some podcasts I listen to, there's one called Too Niche, which is hosted by Elizabeth, I think her last name's Cott, and she lives in LA. I don't even know if she's from there. And she's always talking about like different spas she's going to, or different like one time she was talking about how she hired a company to put like vibes in her house basically. Like they came and they like checked the vibe of her house and then did whatever to make the vibes like good. Like I feel like so many people just kind of buy into that kind of Yeah, like that very, I don't know, Erewhon green smoothie type of lifestyle.
Yes.
So I feel like it's kind of authentic to her, but I definitely do think she was like, oh, this is what works for me. I'll lean into it. And this will, even if it was maybe like 50% of my personality when I first started it, like I'm going to make it 100 because it's so successful.
You're so right. I always forget that there's this different world outside of my own world that I'm living in where, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. I wish I could go to LA and just start a business like where I go and vibe check people's houses.
Yes.
Like that is so, how awesome of a job would that be?
Totally. And like, I love Elizabeth. I love the podcast. It's so funny, but it is so different from my real life. Like she pays, I think, like a subscription to like make sure.
Oh, it's like an ongoing thing.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. And you could go in and be like, ooh, no, we're going to have to up your membership. Like, this is bad.
Totally. Like, it's so funny. And they're always doing those, like, we were like, oh, cold plunging, like finally reached the plebs. And it's like, oh, we're not cold plunging anymore. We're like in a like isobaric chamber or whatever for like an hour. Like, so yeah, I think that's kind of the lifestyle there. So it makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I was thinking for a bit, like, is this kind of a Paris Hilton moment where, you know, Paris like leaned into being this ditzy blonde socialite, and now people are like rediscovering that that's obviously not who she is, and you get all those TikToks of like Paris accidentally changes her voice.
And I watch every single one of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But after Martha puts out her conscious, oh yeah, I didn't even read out what she put in her article.
Yeah, this is good.
In Martha's article, Conscious Coupling, she writes, every Thanksgiving table should be blessed with the presence of a long married pair who bring out the best in each other. And then she continues, our holiday pies honor such partnerships, each spotlighting the perfect marriage of crust and filling.
I like, that's where it gets pretty like messy. You did not need to add those bylines, but I'm here for it.
Oh yeah, same. But yeah, it's so shady. Like every Thanksgiving table deserves a married couple. What?
It makes no sense. Like, truly.
No, it truly doesn't. Especially because that generation of people was like the divorced generation, right? It was like the first kind of group of people. Women had enough like rights and finances to be like, actually, I don't need to write this out. Like, if he's an ass, I can leave.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people in my generation come from divorced parents. So like a lot of us don't have a long married pair at the Thanksgiving table.
No, yeah, that's like rude to many people. Like women, like they're on like their first divorce reading this Martha Stewart article, just catching, like looking for a pie recipe and catching strays. Like, that's brutal.
Yeah, that's so true. Getting called out, like, oh man. And then that same month in Gwyneth's Scoop website, she releases a recipe for jailbird cake, which obviously references Martha's incarceration in 2004 for fraud charges. And have you seen the recipe for this also?
Yes, I pulled it up on the Goop website. It is literally chocolate wafers, whipping cream, vanilla extract, powdered sugar, and a milk chocolate garnish. And it's like a white cake with, they used obviously the Oreo wafers to make like, well, okay, so my mom's side of the family makes a version of this called a Yule log at Christmas or like New Year's, because you use the wafers, it's literally, my mom's obsessed with it. It never hit for me because it's literally like wafer cookies with whipped cream, but you make like a Yule log and you cover it with the whipped cream. Then you could put some things on top of it. But again, truly, it's cracker basically and some whipping cream. And this is what it is, because the wafers make the, you know, the bars of the jail cell.
Prison bars, yeah.
But it's like, the recipe starts off, this cake is a classic. And it's like, I Googled it. It's like the only cake in the world that's called jailbird cake is this one. Like, it is, I think Yule log, I want your listeners to like weigh in if they've heard of a Yule log cake. I feel like that version is more popular, but I'm like, you just riffed on a Yule log cake in a way that like is so wrong. Even I look at Yule log cakes, it doesn't even look like the one my mom makes. Maybe her family just made it up. I have no idea.
I've definitely never eaten a Yule log cake, and I don't even think I would call something that just has whipping cream, whipped cream and wafer. I don't even think I would necessarily use the term cake.
No, it's straight up not a cake, and my mom is
no disrespect to your mom though.
No.
Like, I will eat my whole plate of her Yule log cake if I was there. Like, absolutely, I'm eating the whole thing. But
no, but you're totally right. And my mom is a amazing cook. It's probably a nostalgic thing, but like Gwyneth trying to pass this off as anything remotely classic or something that anyone, why would you bring a jailbird cake to a wedding or not a wedding, a party, anything? It just, it makes no sense.
No, it truly doesn't. And you're so right. They were just thinking like, how can we make something that looks like prison bars? And then someone was just like, oh, let's just put whipped cream in between chocolate wafers and call it a jailbird cake. I'd love to know if anyone's ever like genuinely made this, like has some like, 50-year-old LA mom like not even getting the reference to Martha, like,
trying this new recipe. It just also doesn't, I feel like, and this is why again she clearly did this. It's quick to put on your website versus like obviously print magazines probably have way more time in between publishing, so you can like quickly pop it on the website, but it doesn't align with the Goop brand. Like, no, it is literally wafer cookies and whipped cream. Like, nobody's eating that. Like,
there's no way Gwyneth is eating that, for starters. Like, I think you'd have to tie her down and force feed if you wanted her to
100%
eat a hunk of whipped cream.
Because the next recipe on this website for me is tahini and date shake, and it is like a banana, cashew milk, medjool dates, tahini milkshake. So I'm like, the two just don't make sense together. They're not the perfect long married pair or whatever Martha said.
No. This is not a conscious coupling.
Exactly.
Whatsoever.
Exactly.
That's so true. But again, I love it. I think this is my favorite. Actually, I feel like Martha Stewart's, conscious coupling coming out with this like recipe feud. It's so, I don't know if you've seen Desperate Housewives. It's so Brie
Vanderkamp. Yeah.
Yeah, I was blanking. I could see Brie feuding like this.
Yes.
Getting into a tiff and then being like, I'm gonna write a new recipe into my cookbook, and for that I have to love it.
100%. Yeah. I feel like that character was like probably based off of Martha Stewart, so I think that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was looking into it as well. Let's move on to the next feud, which is between Mason Disick and Jeffree Star. And I have to say, there is nothing pettier in my mind than feuding with a child.
Yeah. Like at this time, he turned 13 because he had his bar mitzvah, like, I think, actually probably this year, I think in 2020. So this is like maybe a 13-year-old. So this is wild.
Yeah, I think Mason was like 10.
Oh, great. Even better.
I don't know how old Jeffree Star was, but definitely too old to be feuding with a 10-year-old. Yeah. It's just so ridiculous. But what happened was Mason hops on one of Addison Rae's Instagram lives. It's 2020. Everyone's doing Instagram lives. Addison Rae is like the next up-and-coming celebrity. And James Charles is watching, and he asks, who is Mason's favorite beauty guru? And Mason says it's James, which like obviously you have to say that because James is asking the question. He goes, James is very nice. And then he says, quote, but Jeffree Star is spoiled AF.
I just can't believe sometimes that it's like, I guess growing up as a Kardashian kid, you just get this stuff by osmosis. Like, how at 10 years old does he know? I guess Addison Rae was hanging out with Kourtney Kardashian at the time. But it's like, how does he know who Jeffree Star is? And how does he know who James Charles is? But I was thinking, had Kylie's makeup brush set come out at the time?
I think so.
Yes, I think, because I think that came out in 2017, right? It was like the $360 like silver makeup brush set, and Jeffree Star like brutalized that on a video. So I bet that Kylie said something about Jeffree in front of Mason.
This is my thoughts exactly, because Jeffree had gone in on Kylie's makeup brushes, but he had also like had she come out with her like makeup wipes at that point, and he was like, I need to use these to pick up my dog shit, and like he just repeatedly kind of like bashed everything that she'd put out, to the point where he got taken off of her PR list.
Yeah.
Because he never had anything nice to say. And I was thinking exactly this. I was like, this sounds like a child who's listened and like picked up on the grown-ups saying, you know, probably talking shit, because let's be real, like Jeffree was talking shit as well. And then overheard, you know, like, oh, Jeffree's just spoiled. And then repeated it.
That's so wild to me, to be a fly on the wall of Kylie talking to someone on their couch with their shoes on. And
yes.
Specifically Jeffree too, because it's like, it's not like he was the only one that said negative reviews about the Kylie lip kits or brushes or makeup wipes. So wild that he would just learn that.
I know. I want to be like hiding under those couches so bad, because I want to know how they like genuinely interact with one another when there's no cameras there. Like, I can't even picture that, and I don't know, I just love to know what that even sounds like. And yeah, you're right, he's not the only one who had negative things to say about it. I think he also like accused her of copying his packaging as well at one point, which there's only so many ways to package
truly like
a concealer.
Pink packaging. I don't know, like,
yeah.
But bring back the beauty YouTube community.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I was living for
Me
it.
too.
I need to do an episode on that at some point.
Yes.
Because it's like
the perfect
there was
feud.
so much going on there. Oh, and all the tea that would just keep coming out. I was also thinking, like, it's so random that Mason was even on Addison's Instagram live, and, you know, because he's 10. And I was trying to figure out the timeline, like, had she already started her friendship with Courtney at that point? Because this is why everything takes me far too long, because I ended up watching the whole, like, 30-minute Instagram live from Addison. And after Mason was on, and she very politely says, like, should I see if there's anyone else I can go live with? Which is like his hint to leave.
Oh my god, that's so embarrassing. That's really embarrassing.
It made my tummy like, ugh. Because anyway, I might clip it and
Please
post on stories or something, because it's so awkward. She does it very politely, but you can tell she's kind of like, okay, like, I don't want to do my life with a 10-year-old for the whole time.
I think that's fair. She probably was like, oh my god, this is like the most famous person. Like, this person has a connection to the Kardashians versus like the other people she was hanging out with at the time. Like, I don't know, like Bryce Hall and stuff like that. So
yeah, like Hype House.
Yeah, so she was probably like, oh my god, this is my but not the 10-year-old.
It's so awkward. But after, you know, he's like, oh yeah, I'll get off, and then Noah Schnapp joins, the whole live is so wild. Like,
sometimes like people's careers, especially in the early days when they are nobodies, they just have the weirdest moments of fame.
Yes. Yeah, it is a really weird moment. She's literally just in her bedroom. Like, now when we look at Addison Rae, she was literally on Sweat Tour with Charlie XCX the other day. And it's so hard to even compare that to this girl who like set up a tripod. She has to like keep ushering out her siblings because they're like, Addison, like, you can just hear them coming in off screen, and she's like, okay, let me just finish this, like, get out. And it's so wild to think these are the same two people. But
totally,
yeah, Noah Schnapp joins, and he's like, how do you know Mason? Which is such a valid question, because he's literally 10. And she says that she met him through David Dobrik.
There is something so sinister going on there. That is like a motley crew of like people all of those people I just would not have my 10-year-old hanging out with. That is awful. Oh god, I hate that.
Yeah, it made me feel really weird, because I thought she was about to say, oh, I'm friends with his mom. Like, I thought that's what she was going to say next, but then she says,
or Kylie.
Yeah, or Kylie or someone. But then she says, oh, I met him through David. And then I was like, what? Like, why is David hanging out with a 10-year-old? Like, what is going on here? Yeah, David Dobrik gives me just such dark energy.
Totally.
Not not a fan. I did not think that is who was going to be like the connection.
Totally. But Alabama Barker and the older boy, I forget his name, but it's like they are also just Landon, yes. They are just like menaces. So none of this is like truly surprising me.
That's so true. And this also happens like literally days before Kourtney Kardashian deletes Mason's Instagram account. So I'm like, I don't even think that she knew he was doing these lives.
Yeah, I don't think so either. He has had over the years multiple like Instagrams, YouTubes, TikToks and stuff like that, always trying to get out there. Same with Saint West has like a YouTube channel now, but Penelope and North have the TikToks with their moms. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see these kids when they are, you know, full adults and maybe making their own content. We'll see.
Yeah, you're so right. And I remember at this time as well in 2020, you'd be scrolling on TikTok and then suddenly this random account with Mason would like pop up and he'd be like, guys, don't tell my mom.
Like in their bathroom. Yeah.
He's like whispering. He's like, I'm at my friend's house so I can do a quick TikTok. I'm like,
I would be so alarmed if I was his parents. But then they always get shut down really quickly. But they always get like, they amass like 200,000 followers in like minutes. Like it's wild how people just like find them and know it's their real account, not like a scam. It's so wild to me. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I don't know either. And that was also like at the time where your For You page was just so random that even if you had nothing to do with Mason Disick, he'd be like popping up.
Yeah.
Out of the blue.
Yeah.
Crazy times. But yeah, that's all he says. He just says that Jeffree Star's spoiled AF. Of course, there is irony in that because he comes from one of the richest, most nepo families who are absolutely all of them spoiled AF themselves. But I don't think it was bad enough that Jeffree had to respond at all. But he does. He posts on Twitter, I had $500 in my bank account 6 years ago. Maybe he's confused with his own privilege versus mine being self-made. Hopefully his father can educate him soon.
That is so embarrassing. I feel like the quick response, like if you had the reflex, I guess, is to respond. But if you like really sat down with yourself and were like, this is a child I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Which he does eventually delete it, which is fair. But like, it's so embarrassing. I wouldn't have gone this route. I would have definitely talked to... like maybe if he had a relationship with any of the Kardashians through the beauty YouTube community, I would like maybe talk to the parents or something like that, or just let it go.
Honestly, I feel like I would have just let it go. It wasn't even, in my mind, being called like spoiled AF isn't even that bad. And it's become like kind of a funny internet moment. Like maybe you could have lent into it and I don't know, released a lip color called spoiled AF, like that.
Yes, called 100%.
Or yeah, call up Kourtney, get his iPad time reduced by an hour.
Yes, exactly. You
know, like get him to do some chores.
Yeah, it's like no one's taking him seriously when it's a 10-year-old kid and he is spoiled himself. Like if any of this had legs, I don't know, it's just laughable. So I think in this sense Jeffree Star should have taken the high road, but whatever.
Yeah, but he's so petty, and it's like it's one of those ones that makes me feel better about myself because I'm like, the pettiest thing I'll ever do will never be as petty as sleeping with a 10-year-old. Like
100%.
Okay, the next one on our list is Haylie, Duff, and Kim Kardashian. And you sent me this and reminded me of it. What had you thinking about it?
Must have been a TikTok or a tweet or something like that. But I love, this is my favorite petty feud. Just because, again, it shows Kim Kardashian in her like kind of pre-mainstream fame era where she would be talking to someone like Haylie Duff. And just the way that the internet worked, like so many people up until I would say 2020, because again 2020 we were getting all those Instagram lives and people were saying bananas things. But I think at this point, like celebrities, they had their own blogs or they were on Tumblr or they were on MySpace or whatever, and they were posting so much tea all of the time, and we will just never have access to that type of celebrity, you know, behind the curtains kind of look like we did then. So I always loved this, especially because I think it like basically happened over like T9 text.
Yes. Yeah, or like MySpace email or something like that.
Yes,
like just something really
yes.
archaic that no one uses anymore. You're so right. And I think also like this happened in 2007, the messages were sent. And I mean, I remember the internet was fairly fresh for a lot of people, you know, to be using in their personal life daily like this. And we just didn't have a grasp of like the permanentness of the internet.
Totally.
So they felt more comfortable, you know, sharing tea, like you said, because there wasn't this idea that 20 years down the line, I could still pull all of those messages up with one click.
That's a really good point. I don't think like the digital footprint conversations, I don't even think started happening until like a few years ago. So yeah, that's definitely another thing. You're right, is that it seemed at the time for celebrities like probably a good way to connect with their fans and like dispel rumors. Like I remember specifically, which actually would be a really, have you covered Lauren Conrad and Spencer Pratt?
No.
Okay, that's your next episode. I feel
Okay,
like.
yeah, writing it down, adding to the list.
Lauren Conrad, when Spencer Pratt made up the rumors about her and Jason's sex tape.
Yes.
I think the way that she responded was through her like website, her like blog website. And so, yeah, it was like a good chance for celebrities to get their word against like tabloids out. But yeah, and then I just feel like also like the next two feuds, like this feud and then the next one we're going to talk about, I love specifically about them that they're like kind of like friend groups.
Yeah.
Whereas like Mason Disick and Jeffree Star, like they're not friends. No. Where it's like this is like a feud where like there is like a potential like falling out and stuff like that. And I guess that in some case that makes it more sad, but in all other cases the kind of, you know, human dynamics and friendship dynamics type of stuff makes it so interesting.
Yeah, it's super relatable as well. You know, I'm probably not going to feud with like a beauty mogul, but I am going to feud with a friend maybe from time to time, or like particularly in high school, you know, you have those falling outs and stuff. And you're right, it really like humanizes these people who can sometimes, especially Kim now, I don't even really register her as a human, like as bad as that sounds. But because she's so like, every time you see her, she's so like put together, and this is one of those moments, those like rare glimpses that you get to experience her, what she was like as a person.
Totally.
It started in 2004, I would kind of say, is when this rift between Haylie, Duff and Paris Hilton happens, when Haylie and Paris both record the same song, Screwed, and they both have plans to release it on their debut albums. And then obviously it's like a point of contention who gets to put the song out under their name. And then Haylie tries to block Paris from releasing it, and then Paris's version gets leaked on the radio. And she also ends up winning the legal battle, which I'm like, I find it crazy that Haylie Duff would even try to like go up against
the Hilton family. Yeah.
The Hilton family. Like, yeah, your sister's Hilary Duff. That's not even nearly the same as going up against a family who has hotels all around the globe.
Totally.
And unsurprisingly, obviously Paris wins the legal battle, gets the rights. Also, everyone had already heard her singing the song first. So yeah, there was like fighting between Paris and Haylie, but it kind of went on. It was like an ongoing feud, because then you also had like Hilary and Haylie feuding, and you had Hilary and Haylie against Nicole and Paris, and like there's this whole web of feuding happening in that space that I should probably cover at some point.
Yeah, and Haylie Duff and Hilary Duff also possibly feuding, so that could be another episode.
There's a whole lot of micro feuds happening as well. And of course, this is in the early 2000s when Kim was very like closely tied to Paris Hilton, and they were friends, but they weren't really on equal footing at this point, I would say. Like, when I think back to them in the early 2000s, I remember Kim almost being like Paris's minion.
Oh, definitely.
You know?
Oh, totally. I think the show came out, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, maybe 2007. I'm just pulling that number out of my pop culture brain. It could be not true, but I think it was around that time, and I wouldn't consider her famous at all. Like, she was definitely like a celebrity hanger-oner, like Derek Blasberg and like Jonathan Chabon and like stuff like that, but she didn't reach like mainstream fame until obviously the TV show came out. And I also I'm thinking about this too, I should go listen to the song, but just like Haylie, Duff, and Paris Hilton also had such different images, and a song called Screwed, which like in 2004 was like pretty much a swear word, like, and like everything was so like less, everything now it's like you can say the F word and like the C word and stuff like that, and like people don't bat an eye. But I feel like back then, a teen girl releasing a song called Screwed, like I definitely think that like that could have been considered risque. So I'm just interested in why Haylie had such a interest in keeping that song versus giving it to Paris Hilton, who had more of like a party girl like vibe.
Yeah, definitely. The song's really good. You should definitely.
If it's made by Paris Hilton, I know, I have no doubts it's a banger, truly.
It was more like punk rocky, I think, when it first leaked on the radio. I listened to the radio version, and then the one that ended up coming out was definitely a lot more Paris, like Stars Are Blind, pop. Both songs work well though, and yeah, it's so good. But you're so right, because I was also surprised, because I don't know if this is true, if I was reading like fake news, but I think Haylie was signed with Hollywood Records at the time, which is the Disney radio record label, and they're so picky about what you're allowed to, the types of songs, you know. There's like a kind of theory going around that the reason Sabrina Carpenter took so long to take off is because she was locked into a 5-year contract with Hollywood Records, and there's no way she could release a song like Bed Chem or
100%
go on stage
do
and, like,
any nonsense, like literally do anything that she's doing right now. Totally. That's really interesting. And that's why Hilary Duff, had such a squeaky image as well. And same with Haylie. And it wasn't till Hilary started to pivot in her later albums to get, and like dating one of the Madden twins and stuff like that from Good Charlotte. I think it was Joel, and kind of come out with like maybe like a little bit of an edgier look, very much like Miley Cyrus light at the time. Also, I was thinking about the time of this music, and Haylie and Hilary put out Our Lips Are Sealed, which was included on the Cinderella Story soundtrack in 2004. So it makes sense to have it kind of like a pop rock song and stuff like that. And I know they were really trying to push Haylie on us.
Yes.
Like they truly were trying so hard to make Haylie Duff happen. It's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Truly, she just does not have that star power that Hilary Duff has, unfortunately. But it was kind of like, Jessica Simpson, Ashley Simpson type of thing.
She was always just gonna be Hilary's sister, it feels like.
Yeah,
which does suck, like, I can imagine, but it's just the reality. Interesting that you bring up the Good Charlotte brothers as well. There's like another connection to Nicole Richie as well.
Exactly.
It's like there was just a lot of mess happening in that whole group.
Totally, yeah. And that's so interesting to me, just like that kind of like young Hollywood era. I feel like they would have so many really good stories.
Absolutely. So because of all of these like feuds happening, kicking off with the song Dispute, obviously Kim, being Paris's minion at this time, is going to also personally enter a feud with Haylie Duff. On behalf, I do this as well though, like if my friends don't like someone, I'm like, I'm there with you even if I've never met the person. But Haylie tries to bury the hatchet with Kim in 2007. She sends her a message on MySpace saying, I'm really tired of all this bad blood between us. The only reason we even know each other is because of Paris. And of course, she tries to stir things up because she doesn't like me and wants you to be on her side. And so she kind of apologizes to Kim and asks, extends an olive branch, is like, do you want to hang out sometime? But it's also a sneaky olive branch because it's like, Paris.
Yeah, like you're just like triangulating with Paris, and also even Kim's response, but it's like it's just so interesting that it's like these girls are clearly not actually friends, they're just like frenemies, because you sneakily dig at Paris, and then in Kim's response she again blames it on Paris. So it just shows you that like they just want a social climb, they're like not really good friends. Because also I'm like, Kim wasn't that young. Like,
yeah, this is
like
the other thing.
It's not like she was 14 or something like that. Like,
no,
this is bad.
Kim, I'm pretty sure was like 26 or 20, like my age. Which is why
like, that's
this
so
makes it all the more funny. Yeah, because it's like I can't even imagine, but like Kim responds and like accepts the apology, and yeah, you're right, she's like, I know, like Paris, what did she call her, like a dumb lesbian or something, which like again such a 2007 insult, but like again so immature, a really immature insult as well. And then she writes like probably my favorite line in the whole thing, which is, I know I shouldn't have called you a stupid cunt. It was mean, but I just did it because Paris told me to.
Like, that's not an apology. Like, that is not how you apologize.
That's a blame shift.
100%. Like, it's so bad. It's so bad. And just thinking about, like, who did she call? Like, it wasn't to the paparazzi. So, like, was it just like their friend group? Like, I'm so curious.
I was trying to find it. Like, my Google history is so cooked now because I'm like, Kim Kardashian calling Haylie a cunt.
Stupid cunt. Yeah. No, truly so cooked. Also, it's like when I did an episode on the history of TMZ, and I was going back to like the first article that they ever posted and stuff like that. And as we just said, that there is a digital footprint, there also is, like, it's sometimes so hard to navigate like really, really, really old episodes, like, or not episodes, sorry, web pages, like when you're going back on like Paris Hilton and stuff, or Perez Hilton, and you are like, it's like the HTML websites, like it's just really tough. So I get it.
Yeah, I know. I've like bloody got my own personal feud with the Wayback Machine because it just like doesn't let me see what I need to see.
Exactly, the Wayback Machine, and just like trying to find any of these things. It's like sometimes it's so easy, and then sometimes there's like another link or something mentioned in an article that you can find about something you can't find, and it's so frustrating.
Yeah, I fully get that. I covered the Lady Gaga and Perez Hilton feud, and it was the same thing. Like, I was trying to find all of these things, and it was tricky. So yeah, I was also trying to find Kim calling her a stupid cunt, but I couldn't. But I guess it must have happened. And then Kim, she says she's ditched Paris and she's becoming her own person, and then invites Haylie to see a DJ, and Haylie's like, yeah, I'd love to go. What time should we go? And immediately Kim responds, yeah, I forgot I don't hang out with horses. Plus, I'm busy, slut. And it's all happens within like a 5 to 7 minute window, these messages. So within like 5 minutes, she went from, yeah, like I'm ditching Paris, like whatever, I'm sorry, to like, oh yeah. Do you think she was with Paris when she wrote? Like, do you think
100%.
the whole thing was just a setup, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think that she was either en route to see Paris, and when she flipped is when she got into Paris's house or something like that, or that Paris was there all along and they were just setting her up to talk shit about Paris, which is so bad. Also, DJ AM he sadly passed away, but he was Nicole Richie's boyfriend.
Really? I didn't know who he was.
That's another connection to
my gosh,
that group of people. Yeah.
You know how you covered the like Fleabag, Sally Rooney, that whole
web?
Yes. You need to make a web for these.
I really true. It was the plane crash that Travis Barker was in, I believe. And DJ AM passed away, but he survived.
Yes, because he was like one of the only ones to survive that, right? Was it him and one other person? Like one of the,
I believe so. It was,
crew?
I think 4 of 6 of the people in the plane died, and so one of them was DJ AM, which like I like weirdly. He's definitely DJ AM, like what was slash is my type. Like I feel really like really skinny, like tall, like kind of ugly.
Say less.
Like
yeah.
like, I just remember
Say less.
I remember when he was dating Nicole, and I was just like, man, they are like the coolest couple ever.
Wow, I didn't know him, so I had no idea who they were referencing when she asked to go see. I'm so glad that you can like enlighten me, but that thickens the web again, because it's like then you've got, you know, the connection to Travis, and then that's going to come right back around to Kim and Courtney. So like, make the web. Does this exist? It's probably already like on Reddit somewhere. That's so wild.
Yeah, they're all interconnected. There's so many things like that. I really want to do an episode on the aforementioned Spencer Pratt and because he's connected with the Jenners, who are connected with the Hadids, and like just like that type of stuff I think is also really interesting to me. It also just shows that like, don't feel bad if you like haven't made it in Hollywood, because everyone just like runs in the same successful circles, and I think it's really hard to like break in. So
it's a self-feeding machine.
Totally.
And it's all just I mean all of their money must just like circulate and pass hands,
all of their
wealth
hands. Totally. It's like kind of like when you see those articles that it's like so and so bought so and so's old house. Like I think didn't like Halsey buy like Liam Payne's old house or something like that. And I hate how I know stuff like that. But it's like I probably read one like that in a tweet or like an article headline or something like 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago or whatever, and now it's forever in my head. But it's like that type of stuff where it was like, oh, like how Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey moved into the Osbournes' house. Like it really does just exchange hands with the same people.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I'm exactly the same though. Like I have all these, this is part of also why I started doing this podcast though, was like kind of just to have an outlet for all of these random thoughts that just like, you know, circulate round in my brain.
Literally.
And no one else in my real life like actually wants to hear me talk about this.
Yes.
But yeah, that was wild, just the whole switch up and everything. But also the language, again, it's like, it's so juvenile, which is so embarrassing for Kim because she's literally my age. And Haylie does screenshot all of these messages and post them to her MySpace with a caption saying stuff like, this really pisses me off. I try to reach out and be nice. Were you being nice though? Like you did try to just
like blame Paris.
And instead it gets shoved back in my face. This is why you should never move to Hollywood. The place is full of arrogant, immature and offensive bitches who can't hold their liquor and can't keep their legs closed. So we've got a bit of slut shaming thrown in there. We've got a bit of everything. I don't think anyone was surprised to find out that Hollywood is full of arrogant, immature, and offensive bitches.
I know. It was like a real original thought. Like, people have been saying that since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I love that she posted the screenshots. Like, again, bring that part of celebrity culture back. And it's funny because, again, at the time, Paris Hilton, I guess, was probably really mainstream. But, like, Kim would have been such a niche, just, like, Hollywood girl. So she probably thought she wasn't doing anything crazy, but then, you know, 20 years later and Kim Kardashian is like a mogul. So
yeah, like on par with Paris. And it's really interesting that there's this whole generation of people who know who Kim Kardashian is, but don't remember her as this like social climbing nobody who would just hang on to Paris and like do her every will that she wanted her to do. I don't know. I feel like those people have missed out on like quintessential Kim.
If you ask like a Gen Z or like Gen Alpha person, they probably maybe Gen Z, I don't know, but definitely Gen Alpha, they would be shocked to find out like Kim started with like the sex tape and stuff. Like yeah, so true. Okay, let's move on to the Miley, Mandy, Selena, Demi feud. I love. Love.
This is another digital footprint moment. Demi and Selena are cast in Princess Protection Program. I put show there, that's not right. It's called Princess Protection Program. Love that movie.
Yes.
And they start a YouTube channel vlog / they keep calling it a podcast, which I was like, that's so wild to me.
That's interesting. It kind of is a very early version of a podcast. I don't doubt that that's true.
Yeah, I just, the terminology, like, stuck out to me, because...
Yeah, because podcasts, like, the boom of podcasts, I think, was, like, 2013, 2014. Mm-hmm. And then 2020, I think, was, like, the second boom. But, like, podcasts really, truly are just, like, an audio version of a radio show, like, talk radio. So, like, yeah. But it was kind of one of the early days of, like, vlogging and stuff, like, showing behind the scenes, which, like, I was obsessed with.
Yeah, me too. And also, this is, like, around the time of iCarly and all of that. And so everyone was, you know, wanting to do this. It was the equivalent of, like, nowadays when everyone's, like, in their friend group, should we start a podcast? Like, this was...
Yeah, it was should we start a YouTube channel?
Should we do YouTube? Yeah. We're so funny. Like, everyone should see this.
Yeah, 100%.
Demi and Selena were doing, like you said, like, behind the scenes videos, introducing the cast, and also just coming online, doing fan discussions and answering questions. And then Miley Cyrus and her friend Mandy Jiroux, I think.
Yeah, I think she was one of her backup dancers.
Yes. Yeah, she was. They start their YouTube show called The Miley and Mandy Show. Do you remember watching this?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Of course I do. Like, especially... Because, okay, here's the real tea, is that, like, I was low-key a Miley and Mandy girl, even though 2024 me would say I would be a Selena Demi girl. But, like... Yeah. So I actually don't think at the time I had seen the parody video. The original video. I saw the parody video, and I kind of remember at the time just being like, oh, why are they acting so weird? Like, I didn't really get that they were, like, being mean girls, and I didn't know what they were imitating. And then I'm pretty sure, like, it got picked up by some news, like, Entertainment Tonight or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, like, but I was kind of, I don't even think I thought it was bad, though. I was like, they're kind of, like, serving, like, Queen Bee, like, like at your high school or whatever, and I was like, that's kind of a slay. But now I would be like, they're just like straight up bullies.
It's so funny that you say that, because I've almost had the opposite reaction.
That's so funny. So what was your original reaction?
When this all happened, I would have been around 10 years old. And I thought this was like the pinnacle of being mean. I was like, there is nothing more disgusting than coming on the internet and just outright mocking. I was very much a Selena girl. Like, Wizards was my favorite show. I was so like, I had her back. I was like, this is just disgusting. I can't believe Miley Cyrus would act like this. And then when I was watching it back for this episode, I was like, oh, that was it? Like, that was not actually as bad, like,
I know,
as I thought. Yeah, I don't know. I was just like, okay.
No, 100%. It was like actually like not that bad. But I loved Miley, Demi, and Selena. But if I like gun to my head had to choose, I was probably a Miley girl. So I don't know, for some reason I was like, I loved Miley Cyrus's like YouTube channel, her Twitter, her Instagram. Like, I just loved all of the content she was putting out.
I really liked Miley as well, but I was definitely like Selena first. And so when it came to choose, I was like the fame just got to her head. I was so judgy about it.
Yeah, that's so funny.
But yeah, when I looked back, and even at the end, they say like, we parodied, they're not even shy about it. They're like, we parodied this video from our friends, Selena and Demi, check out their channel. Like, it was kind of lighthearted in my mind looking back. But at the time, like, I thought this was...
the betrayal of a son. Yes. I was like, oh my God, like something like the earth is shaking right now. I thought the exact same thing. I thought this was like truly life ending. Like,
yeah, me too. But yeah, they basically just parody, like, well, the intro is like word for word, but then they, exaggerate, as you would in a parody, one of Selena and Demi's videos. So and Mandy is kind of being Demi, I guess, and Miley is being Selena. So Mandy is wearing like really exaggerated eye makeup, referencing Demi in the video, saying people think they wear too much makeup. And Miley's wearing this like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shirt referencing Selena's Power Rangers top, and like the whole thing is just so shady, but in a good way. I don't know. I was obsessed with this. Not 10-year-old me. 10-year-old me thought this was like the worst. World War III, you know? I was like, this is so bad.
That's so funny. No, I was like, I love how they have like a little bit of edge. Like I thought Demi and Selena were like so like boring and stuff like that. I was totally on Miley and Mandy's side. But little did we know it was all to do with a boy.
Yeah, because at the center of it all is Nick Jonas. I was such a Nick girly growing up.
Oh, of course. I am still to this day a Miley. Like I ship Nick and Miley. For some reason, I think that they're like gonna get back together. I'm like one of those crazy Larrys. Not like, not that I like actually think that they are together. I just always think that they could have the potential to get back together. And I know Nick just like had a second baby, I think, with Priyanka and stuff like that. But for some reason, I'm holding out hope.
Because they would be such a good couple. They would be so, because Nick would match Miley's energy, you know?
Totally.
And I feel like her other partners like haven't been able to do that. They haven't been able to meet her.
Totally. But then I was talking to someone on my podcast. I can't remember who it was. Maybe Sammy from It's Become a Whole Thing. And she was saying that she thinks, oh yeah, we did like the Liam Hemsworth, Miley Cyrus time. She was saying that she thinks Miley doesn't want a boyfriend or a partner that is her same energy because she's such a star. So I thought that was very interesting because she kind of dates like duds, like kind of like milk toast boys or people. She dates people. But anyways, I think that Nick, if he was to divorce Priyanka Chopra, I really think he needs to date another musician. Is really, it doesn't have to be Miley, but I just think like bonding over music and like I feel like bonding over the shared experience of Disney Channel is it makes for a good relationship. I don't know. The
trauma bond.
Call me crazy. The trauma bond of it all. Totally. So yeah.
No, I fully agree. And you know what? I would have also gone to war for Nick Jonas and made this like parody video of my friends.
Duh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Miley does an interview where she gets asked about it all, and she says there's no animosity, and she says sorry that if we offended them, but like we were just being funny. So again, like not actually an apology. And then she says my favorite thing. Elvis says imitation is the greatest form of flattery, which isn't even an Elvis quote. I love her. Oh,
I love it. It's just no thoughts. Yeah, that is such a cop-out. And I feel like that is such a high school thing to do. Just be like, oh my God, we were just being funny. Like, we weren't, like, we didn't mean anything by it. We were just being silly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but, or like, I'm sorry that you felt that way.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry you're mad. We were just having fun. I just think it's like, how can you say anything back to that if you're like, I'm just having fun? What is the person gonna say? Like, well, you can't have fun? Like, yeah. It is a good cop-out. Like,
it is. It's like such a catch-22. Yeah. I was just gonna say, I didn't realize that Mandy was 20 at the time.
Yes, totally. And I think, again, this could be completely wrong, but I don't think it is. I think that Mandy introduces Miley to her next boyfriend, Justin, after.
Oh.
Yeah, because I think he's also a dancer, so, and also 20 years old. So, yeah. And for the record, I think what was Miley at this time, like 16, 15, like
yeah 15 I think. Yeah,
so yeah, that was like, it was weird that she was hanging out with her, and it was weird that she ended up dating Justin. So
yeah, that is really weird. I didn't realize that at the time when I watched the Miley and Mandy show. I just assumed they were the same age.
Totally, because Mandy looks like a young 20. Like, you wouldn't.
Yeah, she looks super young.
Yeah, you wouldn't assume anything different. But yeah, I thought that was like so weird. That's one thing about Hollywood that always really bugged me, was that so many people of like different age ranges were hanging out. And obviously it's like, that can be totally innocuous, or it can be like really problematic.
Absolutely. And I feel like Miley would have definitely been one of those 15-year-olds who, you know, grew up way too quick because she had to, because she was in this insane spotlight. And yeah, it is kind of sad. But also I was like, why is a 20 again, it's like, why is a 20-year-old be beefing with a child. Like,
totally. And also, why would you, I guess in this situation, the answer is fame, but it's like, why as a 20-year-old would you want to hang out with a 15-year-old?
Yeah.
When I was 20, I didn't even want to hang out with an 18-year-olds.
No, I was so the same. Yeah. It's like even 1 year younger than me, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, can't do it. But at least at this time now, I'm like, I have friends that are 26 to like 38, but like I just think it was weird for them to be hanging out.
No, it is. I'm the same now. I have a lot of friends who are different ages, and I always forget as well, and then suddenly I'm like 24 giving a speech at a 21st party, and I'm like, oh my god, I am such a predator.
No, literally I went to my friend's birthday in LA I guess it would have been 2 years ago. So she's 27 now and I'm 32. So I would have been 30. And we are internet friends. So didn't really clue in that she was turning 25. And I was like, all of a sudden, I was like, oh my God. We were like blowing up like the 5 balloons for her birthday. And I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. But
yeah, I was the same. I was like, I am such a creep.
Yeah.
Oh
my God.
Okay, let's move on to the last feud, which is Kanye and Pete Davidson, or Kanye and Skeet. If we were like 2 years ago, I wouldn't even consider this a petty feud because it was like too serious at the time. I feel like now that we know Pete didn't get murdered and
yes, yeah.
And I think Kanye is on the road. He's been quiet, which is a good sign.
He has been quiet, but hopefully. I feel like the news articles about him possibly getting a divorce from Bianca Censori, also being involved with some of the Diddy stuff, like his camp has been quiet, but everyone around him has not been.
Yeah, actually that's so true. That's a very good point. But I think I can consider this as like a funny moment, what happened between him and Pete.
Yes.
Whereas like 2 years ago, I don't think I would have found it was too soon, you know?
Totally.
But 2021, Kim and Kanye, oh my gosh, Kim, I picked like 3 feuds that involve the Kardashians.
They're everywhere. If they're not central characters, they are supporting characters in truly everything.
This is so, I'm only just making that connection right now. Oh my gosh.
I do that literally all the time. I'll write out a podcast episode outline with 10 different celebrities, and every single one of them has something to do with the Kardashians. Like either they're pictured together, or they were at the event together, or it's a reference to something, or like whatever. It's wild how and it's the same with my book podcast. It's the same with Twilight. Like every book I've read has a Twilight reference or whatever, like, or influence. Like the Kardashians have their little paws in everything.
Yeah, my goodness. Oh my gosh, so true on the Twilight thing, because that inspired so many authors, so many stories, so many characters.
I'm totally okay with. And same with the Kardashians, as much as I have a love-hate, like love to hate, but also hate to love them kind of relationship. I feel like if you're well-versed in the Kardashians, you can like swing it in any pop culture conversation.
Yeah, that's very true. But yeah, her and Kanye divorce, and then obviously November 2021, Kim is first seen. We get those first photos of her and Pete on the log.
The log ride at Disneyland or whatever, or Knott's Berry Farm or something. Every time I see things like this, like the Kylie baby announcement when she dropped that YouTube video, Kim and Pete holding hands on a carnival ride, like those types of things, I think like we're never gonna be like, I will never be as shocked as I am, or like obsessive where it's like then I'm on Reddit for like 6 hours or whatever. And I really hope that, but like this was one of those moments that I really hope we have more of those in our lifetimes. But like it was anyone you talk to in your life, I feel like wanted to talk about this. Like it was crazy how impactful it was.
It was a literal cultural reset. It was also, this was the catalyst for me going from being a casual consumer of pop culture podcasts to
extreme
obsessive, all in, to the point where then a few years later I was like, should I start a, like, if you're like,
now
why
you're
did
here.
why did this bitch start Mood for Feud when we already have like a million? Blame Kim and Pete, because this is like, I can trace it back to this specific moment because this happened. My brain couldn't comprehend it. My TikTok brought up a TikTok from Shannon from Fluently Forward discussing PR relationships and saying, check out my podcast that I've just started.
Yeah.
It was like a 20-minute episode. I clicked on that and it was like wormhole.
No, I feel that. Like it truly, just because it was like, so like, I guess we should say, why was it so impactful? Like, Kim had never dated someone like Pete. Like, it was against her like classic kind of boyfriend type. Pete Davidson was coming out of just being like a comedian and being more of like a celebrity. Obviously the like Ariana Grande connections with the Kardashians, like being kind of like a friend of the Kardashians, her being the ex of Pete, the way that it was those pictures that leaked, like it wasn't them on a red carpet, it wasn't them at a behind the scenes at like a party or something like that, it was a fucking carnival ride. Like there's just so, it was really quick after her divorce from Kanye. Like there was just so, not saying like, not in a judgmental way, just I was surprised, not like, that I don't think she should. This. Yeah, like it was just so unexpected. He's a lot younger than her. He doesn't have kids. She's like mom life, kids. He like is based out of New York. She's based out of LA. Like she famously doesn't drink or do drugs. He drinks and does lots of drugs.
Yes.
It was just so, and he like the stylistic part of it, it never made sense because he's such a like grungy, like looked like he had never showered type of guy, and she is the definition. Her and Chloe and Courtney and stuff like that, it's like their houses are always perfect. They're such clean girl, like, you know, all of that stuff. Like it was just so wild to me. Like I would have expected a Tom Brady or another like professional athlete or someone in the music industry at the same level as Kanye, but like it was so weird. And still when I look, sorry, I'm going off on
I'm loving this because this is how I feel too.
It's just so like, I just love talking about it so much. I will never stop. It's been 3 years since this happened and I won't stop. But it's like, it also just like the things that are interesting to me too is like, yeah, he wasn't necessarily a celebrity per se. And I don't know, I kind of forgot what I was going to say, but like, I just like, it was just a weird move, I guess. I don't know. I could never nail down what Kim Kardashian's angle was, but I guess the angle was to shock people, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. It was just so, it's still so crazy to me.
It's like one of those cultural moments that you could study as like the catalyst for a lot of things. I think this is where PR relationship became a mainstream word. It came from like, you know, the blind item space into becoming like mainstream discourse. I think it's started from this relationship because people just couldn't understand it. Yes. And you're right. It's because they're just such opposites. Like Kim's whole house is like beige and minimalist. And I reckon if I walked into Pete Davidson's bedroom right now, there would be like a stack of like 80 books and then like an empty glass from like 5 weeks ago and like some leftover macaroni in the corner and an ashtray.
100%. He famously lived with his mom up until like recent.
I did not even know that.
Yeah, on Long Island, he had like, it wasn't like, I don't think they were in the same house. I think he bought a house for them and then he lived in like the basement suite. So it's not like it was like connected. He might have also still had an apartment in Manhattan, but anyways, he also did an interview, and because it was 2021, I think it was like still, I guess maybe COVID-y times, but it was weirdly like it was on Zoom and it was in his bedroom and he had a candle that had Kim's like face on it or whatever. But you could see in his room, and you're exactly right. Like it was like, not to like dismay Pete Davidson. I feel like we're talking so much shit about him. But like it was, he just seems like a kind of teenage boy type of guy, like Peter Pan boy. And I feel like you just couldn't see Kim Kardashian like going to his basement suite with his mom upstairs. Like she's used to like luxury and like these homes that are in Calabasas that are on like 1 million acreage next to a horse paddock where you can like golf cart to your neighbor. It's just so wild to me. And I remember what I was gonna say, and it's just that it is years later and I look back on this and I still think like it feels like Black Mirror or something, where I look back and I'm like, did this actually happen? Like I actually cannot believe it still. Like it is still shocking to me.
Yeah, it really is. It's so, yeah, I fully get you. And you've just put the best mental image in my brain of like Kim being like, "Hi, Mrs. Davidson," and then just like
and she's
downstairs.
like in her 40s. Yeah, like is Pete there? Like
I'm just here
that
to see
is
Pete.
So weird to me. Like they just seemed like they were at, I think like when I look at couples, I'm always like, oh, like they have lots of common hobbies or their education or they're in the same life stage. And with them, other than fame, I feel like they had nothing in common. And they're not in the same life stage. Like, it was so weird. But I think maybe the one explanation that I could think of is just, like, other than it being PR, which is probably the most likely, is, like, I do kind of get after divorcing your husband that seemed really awful and really difficult to live with, that you would, and, like, that you had kids with and stuff, that you would want a down and dirty, complete opposite, kind of gross,
like overcorrecting.
Yes. Like I just feel like I read a lot of books like that where it's like they're with the like buttoned up guy and then it's like, oh no, I'm gonna like have a one night stand with like some like fucking fratty like gross boy, and then they end up falling in love or whatever. But it's like I feel like she almost like, maybe it was that human of her that she just wanted to have a quick 6-month fling with bad boy and then move on to someone that was a little bit more serious. I don't know.
It's like the male version of a manic pixie dream girl. Like, he's the manic pixie dream boy, right? Like, he's gonna show you fun and like
totally
a side of New York that prim and proper Kim has never seen, and like
totally 100%. Yeah, so I don't know, who knows. And like also we saw just like over the years like Kanye was so controlling with like what Kim wore and stuff like that, and I feel like Pete would just be like just like, tell me where to show up and I'll show up and I'll say you look hot and I won't tell you what to eat, dress, like how to raise your kids. Like we'll have some laughs and just live our lives. I don't know.
Yeah, and I didn't really clock how controlling Kanye was until he started dating Bianca Censori, and I realized that she was like another Kim.
Yes.
That's when I was like, oh, it was you behind it all.
It's so wild how we didn't clock that when his first appearance on Keeping Up with the Kardashian was him cleaning out her closet in a way that was like, I'm replacing your entire wardrobe with things that I think are appropriate. Just stuff like that. And we might have said maybe a few things, but we didn't see the pattern until now. So yeah.
Wild. But yeah, I fully think this was a PR move as well. But then it's so strange because of Kanye's reaction to it all.
Okay, yes. I literally... It's just like I could dissect this for like a million years. That is the one thing that always confuses me when so many people are like, it's PR, but the ex or whatever is acting jealous, and like it's like, well, did you not loop in the ex that it was PR? Like, I don't know. Like, obviously he thought it was very real, and there's other examples of this. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but like I have had other conversations with people where they're like, no, I'm convinced it's PR, and I'm like, then why is their ex like,
why are they acting like that?
Sabrina Carpenter,
I was gonna bring up
Shawn Mendes Sabrina, and Camila. Yeah. It's like, then why the fuck is she writing songs about him? But I was like, maybe because there's the PR lore and
that's the PR.
You wanna, have something to go with it. But
then why is she dating Barry?
Yeah, like...
Because then some people say they're PR, but I'm like, but he didn't even bring her that much hype to the album. Sean did.
No, literally 100%. So yeah, it's like Kanye thought it was real. And I feel like even if she didn't tell him that it was fake, I feel like she would have maybe told other people in the business, and then it would have gotten back to him that it was fake. So
someone in her team would have told someone in his team, like
100%.
for sure. Heads up. That would be courtesy, right? Like, heads up, Kim's about to do a publicity stunt with Pete. This is your, like, courtesy.
Yes, your, like, little
courtesy
FYI.
warning.
Yeah.
Tomorrow you'll see these photos.
Yeah. And I think the last thing, and then we can get into the facts of it, but is just... I think people forget that Kanye and Pete were, like, kind of friends. Like, there's
they
that
were friends.
Infamous Nobu restaurant picture that's like, Kid Cudi,
Timothy Chalamet,
Pete and Kanye. I think that was everyone. But yeah, so they, like, maybe that's what hurt too, was that it was someone that he liked versus, like, a random.
Yeah, that's true. That could be the reason. And yeah, we can get into it. So it kind of started when a snippet from Kanye's song Easy leaks, and he's singing the line, "God saved me from the crash just so I can beat Pete Davidson's ass." Obviously referring to his, like, car crash before his career. And he also releases 2 music videos. The song's also with The Game. And I was like, was The Game, like, just sitting back, like, yeah, whatever, man, like, you take over, like, all good? Because if it was my song, I would have been like, no, actually, we're not doing that. But he releases 2 music videos. One shows, like, a claymation that resembles Pete being buried alive, and then another one that shows this monkey. Have you seen it?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, it like twists my tummy, but, like, this, it's like a skinned monkey.
Yeah,
it's cartoon, but, like, it's still yuck. Attacking a person whose, like, face is blurred out, and they're wearing a hoodie that says Skeet, which was, like, Kanye's nickname for Pete. And it's just so, like, that whole music video is so dark to me that I'm like, I need to go pray the rosary after. But, like,
truly,
it was actually disturbing. And this is why, like, at the time I wouldn't have found it funny, but I'm, like, kind of hoping that it's been enough time that we can see it for the petty move that it was.
Yeah.
But, like, it was, and Pete ended up hiring more security around the time as well. Not because he was, like, scared of Kanye specifically, but because of, like, Kanye's fans, and you could take that
exactly
so out of context. And you do have some responsibility for what you put out into the world and how it makes your fans maybe react. Like, I don't think you're solely responsible for other people's behaviors, but you are, like, kind of responsible for it. It's something I always go back and forth on.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Like, could have potentially incited violence. Like, if you have a crazed fan, I feel like they could have, like, we've seen that happen, like, acted on something that maybe they're the celeb that they, like, stalk is saying. So yeah, I think that's a legitimate fear.
Yeah, for sure. And then Kanye also starts posting memes recreating, like, the Civil War movie poster with him, Drake, Julia Fox, who he was dating at the time, Future, Travis Scott on one side, and then Pete, Kim, Kid Cudi, Billie Eilish, and Taylor Swift. his public enemy number 1 from 2009.
Literally, like, cannot get over that, but, like, neither can she, so, like,
no,
whatever.
Because then she did Thank You, Amy, and I was like, see, I don't feel bad that I covered this feud because you're still bringing it up too.
I know, like, changing the lettering to Kim and Gay in 2024 is wild. But what did Billie Eilish do to Kanye West?
I don't know. I was trying to think, and I couldn't. I don't know. Probably nothing. if we're going off his track record, probably
nothing.
Existed.
Like, yeah, maybe
said something.
Yeah, about, like, anti-Semitism or something like that.
Yeah, I find it so funny that Julia Fox is on his team in this, because now in 2024, I feel like she wouldn't associate with any of those people.
100%. Like, she is a lesbian now. Or identifies as a lesbian now. 100%. She looks back on that relationship in a really bad way. Like, so that's one last. And then it's like Drake is also a loser. Travis Scott, also a loser.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Future, but yeah, like that's not a great team to...
It's not a good Avengers team to assemble by any means.
No. But Timothée Chalamet got out scot-free, so...
Yeah, because I was like, you were also at the Nobu restaurant. How come you didn't?
And now you're dating Kylie. Yeah, which he wouldn't have known in 2022, but...
That's true. That's so funny. And then Kanye also starts sharing screenshots of all of his text messages with Kim, which again, like super problematic, complete like invasion of privacy. He was like sharing messages that involved details about their children. Like it was horrific, and also just showed like where he was at, I guess, in that point in time, and like, you know, not doing so hot, obviously. Yeah, Pete basically like tells him to calm down, calls him out for it, and then he asks Pete, where are you right now? And this is so petty. This is so fucking petty. But Pete responds with a shirtless selfie saying, in bed with your wife, and then tells Kanye to stop being a little internet bitch boy, which I want to tattoo that on my body somewhere.
So funny. It's so funny.
Little internet bitch boy.
I know. It's the perfect comeback.
Yeah.
I remember at the time being like, Pete, why are you stoking the flames? Yeah, like you could just completely block his number and move on with your life and take the high road. But it's also kind of fun. And I do feel like at some point when you're talking to a lunatic like Kanye West, like it's almost like reasoning with them doesn't do anything. So
yeah, you have to match their energy at some point and be like, hey, I'm gonna fight crazy with crazy. Like it's just...
Yeah, it was probably like after weeks of them being kind of harassed by him, and then so yeah, I do get it from that point. But then Pete ends up apologizing and says like, I know that you have bipolar disorder. I also have bipolar disorder. Like, I can get you help. Like, yeah. And he just obviously didn't respond to that. But I'm like, obviously he's not going to respond well to that after you just said like one of the most brutal things you could ever say to him at this point.
But then because I agree with everything that you've said, and I saw a lot of like old Reddit threads really going in on Pete for doing this and being like, this is like disgusting to say to someone about his ex-wife. But like, Kanye was also dating Julia Fox at the time. Like, that
was the thing. I was like, it wasn't like he hadn't moved on.
No.
And he was full on harassing her and like kind of stalking her. And like you said, posted messages about like not being able to like pick up their kids for school and stuff like that, which obviously is really inappropriate. And again, I'm not saying that excuses what Pete does, or it's not like what he did was right, but that's just some context for the situation, I guess.
Yeah, context. I think that's important to talk about. It's like not letting him off scotch-free, but just seeing the surrounding factors of it. But those are all the petty feuds on the list.
Love it.
Do you have any final thoughts about any of those? Which one was your favorite? Actually, you already said.
Yeah, I love the Haylie and Kim one. That's such a deep cut. But all of these are good. These are all people that I follow obsessively. And, you know, I was around during all of, like, I was a pop culture girly during all of these. So, like, it's fun. It's all fun.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on as well. Like, truly means so much to me. I'm just so grateful for anyone who makes time to talk to me.
It's my pleasure.
Please do let people know where they can find you and your podcasts as well.
Yeah, you can find Ready to Be Petty on Patreon, patreon.com/RTBP podcast. And then you can find my book podcast, Ready to Be Romanced, anywhere you find podcasts.
So great. Thanks, Torry. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.